This is my altar update for the new moon in Gemini. This is a kind of special update, so I didn't record as I was doing it. I'm going to talk to you about what's going on this time as I show you the layout. First of all, for the first time since I lived in Boger, I found the yellow blossoms that are very fragrant, and I used to put on the altar every day as a kind of living altar facet. But it occurred to me when I was working on this one that there's something else that I do that impacts on the energy for the month ahead. In my altar, I intentionally move between things that represent the masculine and things that represent the feminine. And I take inspiration about what item I put on the altar first, which is normally about center, if not exactly center. And this time, a new addition to my altar, these pink crystal wings, were the first items that I placed, and then I ended up things that are in twos, and then one of my especially heartwarming reflections of the divine feminine. I also thought a little bit about the element of air with regard to the wings and the feather, because sometimes the emphasis is on water, like with the shell. And this is on material resources, and this is on health. Then I have things related to religions as I have experienced them, thought about them, continue to think about them, and as they are reflected based on certain symbols. So, of course, the Allah with the La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah in the middle of it, the picture of my sheikh, the cross from the Celtic tradition, recognizing my DNA makeup, and the hero word for life, Chaim, inside the hand of Fatima. Those respond more to the Abrahamic, and I might say masculine traditions, but as you know, I'm working on divine feminine Islam, so I'm not giving it up yet. I also am interested in the ways in which certain features of the divine feminine on my altar interact with certain features of the divine masculine, and how I try to reconstruct not only the sense of relationship, the necessary relationship, the arriving at harmony and beauty between them, but also how they balance in my own life. So this time I was even more aware of the aspect of balance, harmony, repair, because these crystal wings were given to me by my eldest daughter, from whom I had been estranged for a year and a half, actually a little bit longer than that. And the estrangement was as a result of her articulating her displeasure with my location in using words in the way that I use them. And it was offered to me as an ultimatum leaving me no location except to enter into a non-relationship. In order to enter into that, I also felt very strongly that I could not let what was happening between us also act as a deterrent for maintaining a relationship with her son, my eldest grandson, who also has a unique neural processing composition. I don't like to use the words disorder or disability, so this is why I'm just saying he's got a unique neural processing capacity. And as such, for a child with whom I have lived several times over the course of his 15 years, he is the most introverted child that I've ever met. So I stayed with my daughter for about a week when I was visiting, so that meant that I could be also in proximity to my grandson, and he could be in his complete flow. And that flow is one in which, even without lockdown, he chooses to stay in his room about 80% of the time. And when you include in that the recognition that there's no inside bathroom, so he has to come out of his room to go to the toilet, and there's no inside kitchen, so he has to come out of his room to eat, basically he chooses to stay in his room all the time. All the time. And he's content, in fact happy. He's also content to stay in his house, so the lockdown has been just fine for both him and his mother. And in that sense of reclusiveness, I have to make more of an effort if I want to stay in touch, and that was one of the things that I put a fair amount of attention to, so that I could be in communication with my daughter, specifically so that she could arrange for opportunities to be on Zoom meetings with my grandson. So alhamdulillah, we have this interesting effort at reparation, which is really outside my element. My element is air and fire. So I like to talk through things. Whereas this reparation was achieved from the main modality of operation that my daughter has, which is water. And yet I decided that I would open up to the possibility and not resist, just to see how it went. And as a consequence, I did have a good time with my daughter. We did some things one-on-one, and those proved to be things that were especially meaningful by participating in the 5 years of her spiritual teacher and my friend and colleague, as well as to go to one of my favorite roads in the entire world, Highway 1 in the Marin County area of the Northern Bay Area, and then along the mountainside and even to the Pacific Ocean at the bottom of those mountains. So it was a lovely occasion. The weather was perfect, and we just sort of turned back the hands that had been holding us captive to the placement where we had arrived to through her initiation of criticizing the way that I speak, specifically to her. And in a way, it's a kind of joyous thing, and I am celebrating that with the altar this time, and even the coloration of the cloth that I chose is way more feminine and an affirmation of, I guess I could say, the light going forward that I hope will proceed forever. So happy new month. Happy Eclipse for those of you who got a chance to participate in any way with it. And I look forward to seeing you soon in other ways, especially here on the Patreon page. Thank you.